Hey guys, well, I'm back with another video. I hope you can hear me. I had to set the microphone kind of off to one side here. Um, I'm back on to show some more records and a few other items, and I'm just going to start right out with the records. First, I have Marianne Faithfull's Greatest Hits. No, I didn't know. I don't think I ever really heard any of this lady's music, but I heard like one song on the radio or on a movie or somewhere, and I liked it. And I thought, well, let me try to find some Marianne Faithfull at the record store, and I found this one, her greatest hits. Um, I would say this lady has the greatest music in the world, but it's interesting enough that I would probably listen to it more than once every couple of months. But anyway, I kind of read up on her a little bit. I think she was more of the sidekick to various rock stars like Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones, amongst others. Um, and another story I've seen is that a couple of record executives or somebody had seen her at a party somewhere or something and decided that her just going by her looks that she looked good enough that that they could probably put her under a record contract for some reason. Who knows how that went and how she got that deal back in the old roaring 60s, you know. But yeah, Marianne Faithfull. Next, I have another greatest hits, and that's a retrospective, the best of Buffalo Springfield. Now, I have three or four of their albums, um, and I've repeated myself over and over that I always pick up these greatest hits if I just want to hear various tunes from different records. And probably the most famous one everybody's heard off of here is For What It's Worth. Um, and On the Way Home, perhaps. This is I always listen to these guys at least once or twice a month. I discovered them more than several months ago, um, and I think I heard them on a movie again or something like that because you don't hardly hear this music on the radio anymore. Even in this area, we only have one or two classic stations, and they basically play the same 20 songs from the 1960s and 70s, leaving out thousands of others, which is kind of sad. I guess they're ran by a computer or something. Buffalo Springfield. And these next two records are by this guy named Buzz Martin. They're still in the shrink. Actually, they were still sealed when I got them. Where there walks a logger, there walks a man. They're supposed to be like logging songs, or he's a logger, or was a logger. Um, but I first not really heard, I've seen this guy in a Johnny Cash documentary. I don't even remember which one it is. It's kind of old from the 70s or something. But I seen this guy in that video, like Johnny Cash went backstage with his wife, and this guy was sitting back there. He must have opened for him, or he was just visiting, or what. But um, he sang a tune on there, and I just like the way he sang so much that I always wondered. I looked it up. I looked him up, and I found out his name. And then I went into the record store again, and I looked, and they actually had a couple of records by this guy, Buzz Martin. I was surprised because it's kind of an oddball record now. I don't think hardly anybody knows who he is. But if you see this somewhere, pick it up. It's pretty good, I would say, country songs. You know how Johnny Cash was always singing the working man or train songs or whatever. This guy's thing was loggers. And here's a Loggers Reward by Buzz Martin. And if you want to see the label on that, I can take it out. It's on Ripcord Records, kind of a turquoise and black on there. And that's it on the record part here. Now, in some of my other my last video, I told you I was making games and carving things out of. I showed some little things I carved out of wood. Now, I didn't just jump into that willy-nilly. I actually started watching this guy's videos on YouTube. It's called Carving Fusion, and the guy's name is Jordy Johnson. And I really enjoyed his carving, and he was a really fun character. Check his channel out. I'll leave the link below if you want to check him out. But he's up there somewhere in Canada. Maybe Bobby lives down the street from him. I don't know. But anyway, I originally I started making the games, and I was like, at first I started using rocks and coloring them different colors and things, shiny rocks and different types of rocks. And I was like, well, I had seen some photographs of people making the playing pieces out of wood, and some of them were carved, but most of them weren't. So I'm like, well, maybe I could start making my own playing pieces. And so I started looking around at different wood carving videos and things, and that's how I found Carving Fusion. Thanks, Jordy. You probably won't ever watch this video, but you never know. And I watched one of his videos about carving a 2x4. Now, mind you, this isn't using knives and chisels and things like that. He does a thing called power carving, which is using Dremels, chainsaws, grinders, and that sort of stuff. It gets done really fast, and he's a really great carver. I highly recommend that channel. But I watched his video about carving 2x4s, and I followed along with his video, and I carved my own. This is my own carving, which I just finished last week. It took me about 6 hours to do this. I did the carving after work out in the garage and these are wood spirit faces. If you watch his channel, that's his main artwork is wood spirits, big ones, little ones. But I really had fun doing this. Now, next time I might pick a different wood, because this thing was almost hard as a rock, and that's why it kind of, you see that wavy, I don't know if you can tell by this video, it's kind of wavy looking. That's because in between the grains it was soft, and the grains, the rings were really hard, and my Dremel wouldn't hardly go through. So it kind of made this wavy effect. And then I burned it some with a torch, and that created these black lines that you see running up and down there. But I was pretty proud of this. I'm going to do it different next time, because I already see mistakes that I made. His beard, for instance, and things, they're all kind of in straight lines. And I should have crisscrossed them more to make it look more like they're, natural, blowing in the wind or whatever. And that type of thing, but I'm pretty proud of that. You can see the lines better back there. And my latest carvings, I'm actually moving on to making another board game. And these are some of the figures for it. These take me about, these two here take about an hour a piece. This is pine wood, and it's really soft to carve. And this one, I'm not too sure what kind of wood it is. It might be cedar. You can see it there. The lighter pieces are going to be one side, and the darker ones are the other side of the board that I'm making. And I don't know if you get a closer look. These are more wood spirits, even though to me, after I carved them, I thought they're like a cross between old Jesus and Liam Neeson. But anyway, those are those. My latest carvings. Just in case anybody's interested in seeing what I've been doing. And another thing is that we've been going out almost every weekend hiking, and we've been hiking between 3 and I think our longest hike was 9 miles. Well, today we went out hiking about 6 miles, and I was looking for wood that I can carve on. And I did find a piece of this right here. I don't know if you can see it very good. I don't want to pull it out because it's going to be awkward. It's a long branch here that was in with some driftwood. It's not too hard and it's not too soft, but I'm going to let it sit for a while and dry out, probably longer than a while. But I'm going to make a walking stick out of that. And I actually have 2 or 3 pieces that I want to make walking sticks with. And that's kind of it on that. I might throw in a couple of pictures here at the end of some of the games that I've been making. I said I would make a whole video about them. I might still at some point. But I thought maybe you'd want to see those pictures and maybe some pictures of us out on our hikes and things. And lastly, you know, I always read a book, and I used to. This is a Modern American Poets, and I found a poem in here that kind of, I've been thinking about it a lot because we've been out hiking so much, way out in them our woods and things. And you might have heard this before. It's called The Road Not Taken, if anybody knows poetry at all. I'm probably going to rip this up trying to read it because I'm not very good at reading, following these things. But here you go. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And he, one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubt if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that was all that made the difference. And that was a Robert Frost poem. This is just kind of a mixture of different poets. It's an old book. I don't remember what year it is, but it's on the end. It says, "With best love to my son, my son and a friend from Ruth." So Ruth gave this to her son at some point. It doesn't have a year. She gave it to him. I always like when I find something like that because it kind of personalizes the thing, and you kind of realize at some point this was somebody's gift or something. The copyright's 1927, so it was these must have been very early poems. And that's my video. I hope you guys have a nice Christmas if I don't see you before then, and or whatever holiday you might be celebrating. But that's my video, and I'll leave some pictures at the end here if I feel like editing for 2 hours. Colin, over and out, and weirdos unite. deep in the forest.